Manchester United have only 6 players who are considered unsellable, as internally they agree that half the squad could be sold. Diego Leon is a done deal as we run through the latest regarding that whirlwind deal. Marcus Rashford's asking price is revealed, and all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name is Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So there's been so much noise over the last few days regarding, Sir Jim, and obviously that we had the Dan Ashworth news. One of the reasons why he was apparently sacked is because of Sir Jim wants to accelerate things at United. He's on a bit of a mission to try and get as many players out, to bring as many players in as we can to accelerate the rebuild at United. So there's been loads of stories around player exits and stuff. And there was another one yesterday that said, internally, Manchester United agree that over half of the players in the squad are serious candidates to be sold in January or the summer if good offers arrive. Ruben Amorim will be given the opportunity to make a rebuild, which will require urgent sales. Now, that came from Florian Plettenberg, who is, he's linked us with loads of players over the last few weeks. So I know some people online are questioning his credibility, but this isn't like a transfer story. So I would kind of say, is he jumping a little bit on the bandwagon with everything that's gone on? But you're saying that internally Manchester United agree that half of the players in the squad could be sold. The thing with all the kind of clear out stories and stuff is, it's all very well and good. We've heard these stories before. Firstly, they were around last year and the years before that. And when Rangnick was here, open heart surgery, we're going to get rid of all the players and we're going to have a big mass rebuild and all of this stuff. And it very rarely materializes. We might have, we got rid of 17 players in the summer, which, technically is a bit of a mass rebuild, but a lot of those were out of contract or youth players. So it wasn't exactly the massive overhaul of the squad that we kind of needed. And a lot of the signings we got as well didn't really strengthen the team. What I mean by that is we kind of did a lot of like-for-like signings. So Martial left, for example, Joshua Zirkzee came in, Varane left, De Ligt came in, Bissaka left, Mazraoui came in, McTominay left, Ugarte came in. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of them were kind of just replacements for the players that we sold. We didn't actually, in my opinion, strengthen too much the first team, but maybe with one or two signings have. But it was more like of a squad rebuild to get depth in certain areas. So I am kind of, very skeptical about these kind of stories around, mass overhauls and big clear outs and stuff, because I do sometimes think that the media are maybe playing to United fans' emotions, because I think most of us agree that we do need to get rid of like quite a few players within the first team or within the first team squad. But the problem we'll always have will go back to, who's going to buy the players and the wages that they're on. And unfortunately, we've got a legacy problem at United with paying some of these players that are bang average at best, massive salaries. And that will always be the kind of issue. So it's all very well and good saying it. The only thing I hope is that with Sir Jim, getting a little bit more cutthroat on everything financially going on at United, to the fact that they're, stopping Christmas parties for the kind of, the 9-to-5 staff at United. The only thing I can kind of hope is that actually he starts, or United start to become more ruthless with these players by effectively not giving them a choice and saying, look, we're selling you, end of, and you need to find another club. Whether it would work or not, I don't know. But, that's then on the player to say, well, actually, I'm just going to sit and rot in the reserves. Yes, I might be on 200 grand a week, but I'll never play football again for the next 2 or 3 years. And if that's their character, then fair enough. There's not a lot we can do about it. But I do think we need to get a little bit more ruthless if we are looking for this big mass overhaul and stuff. So, but let me know what you think in the comments. Now, the next kind of bit that came from Florian Plettenberg was also around the unsellable list, which didn't necessarily shock me, but there's some surprise names that necessarily aren't on this list. So let's go through it. So players that Manchester United consider unsellable include Ahmad, I agree. Kobbie Mainoo, I agree. Mazraoui, agree. De Ligt, agree. Lenny Yoro, agree. Andre Onana, yeah, I can kind of agree with that, actually. He's been pretty decent apart from the Nottingham Forest game this season. Apart from that, I think he's been, outstanding so far, one of our players of the year so far. And then 2 to 3 other players which, is not necessarily a shock the names on there, but there's some shock names not included on there. Garnacho, obviously Rashford, clear one, Bruno, Højlund, Ugarte, Dalot, Anthony, Jokin. Do you know what I mean? Like the 6 players I agree with. The other 2 to 3, if it was me, I would be saying Højlund, Ugarte, and then, Garnacho, Bruno. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To kind of think. And in fact, let me know in the comments who you think the other 2 to 3 players could be that would be included on that list. For me, I'm going to go Højlund, Ugarte. Oh, and then it's a toss-up between Garnacho and Bruno. I'm going to go Garnacho. He's younger, got more development in him. But that doesn't mean that I would sell Bruno at the moment. I think he's our captain and leader. He is one of our only creative outlets as well, but just because of age. But yeah, really kind of interesting updates around, mass clear-outs and squad. But again, I would say take them with a pinch of salt, because we've heard these stories before. Every kind of transfer window in the build-up, our mass clear-out, and, we're not going to do that much business in January because other clubs are not necessarily going to have the money to buy the players that we need as well. So it's one of these where I do think that, I think the reality is that, yes, half of our squad probably should be sold. The reality is, though, are they going to be sold? Because there are massive wages, some of them at the wrong side of their careers. The more realistic thing is that either we get a very reduced prices for them, which you could maybe get around the prices, and the wages if you accept a much lower bid for them. And I suppose it comes down to what's more important, getting them off the wage bill or getting the price for them, because I don't think we've got that many players that hold massive value. We do have some that you could get a couple of quid for, but there's not very many it's not going to be groundbreaking kind of money in terms of transfer fees. But it might be more important for United to get the wages done. Like Casemiro, for example, is on around £18 million a year. That is more significant than getting £18 million for him necessarily. Not that I think we would. So I would say take them with a pinch of salt, the story. I do think that there's some truth in it, though. I do think that we would look to move, like the reports are from, more credible kind of sources, are that United would listen to offers pretty much for everybody, apart from maybe some of those names on the unsellable list. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, one of the other players that's not on the list and has been heavily reported to be on the transfer list effectively over the last few days is Marcus Rashford. Manchester United would consider offers for £40 million for Marcus Rashford, but accept there are unlikely to be any bidders for the England forward in the January transfer window. United are under pressure to sell players to comply with profit and sustainability rules and raise funds for new head coach Ruben Amorim to strengthen his squad. Now, that came from Chris Wheeler, suggesting that United would consider offers of around 40 million. I would say take it with a pinch of salt, because it's come from, he's a decent source, Chris Wheeler, but not the most credible. Was right in the summer regarding the Jared Branthwaite kind of situation, but even a broken clock's right twice a day, so I wouldn't necessarily buy into that one too much. But he has been fairly credible in the past. That's a bit kind of weird, though, the low ball. Like, why would you say, we want 40? Because normally if you say you want a price for a player, other clubs are going to come in and downbid that. So if you said, we want 40, a club's going to come in and say, well, we'll give you 30. And then you're kind of negotiating from a position of weakness. And I don't think United is stupid enough to put the price out there for players in the mainstream media, specifically not to Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail. So I would say take that with a pinch of salt. But, it is more noise around potentially Marcus Rashford being up for sale, which I don't really think is a massive surprise. Someone made a good point, though, in the comments yesterday, saying that, there are other people in the squad that need to be sold before Marcus Rashford. And I 100% agree with that kind of statement, because he is not the worst player in the squad. Like selling Rashford before Anthony is stupid in my mind, because Anthony has no value or no place in the squad, whereas Rashford at least is doing things, or at least playing and, contributing in terms of goals and assists, maybe not to the level that we would expect from Marcus Rashford, because he's not quite at his kind of levels. And I totally agree with that, but it comes back to, in my mind, are they just looking to sell whoever they can sell? And Rashford might be the one that they can sell. And then if you use that money to maybe go and get I don't know, another right winger or a Coenda, for example, just to throw a name out there that we're linked with, that then forces Anthony further down the pecking order, which might then give him the hump to kind of say, okay, well, I'm never going to play now because you've got two or three players in my position, so maybe I will look for another club. So there could be something like that going on. But yeah, £40 million for Rashford. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then United were willing to listen to offers from Rashford in the summer, but there were no suitors. That came from Melissa Reddy from Sky, who's a good source. The Muppeteers, though, were saying that Rashford wasn't for sale in the summer. So it's a case of who do you believe in terms of that, because they are both credible sources. I think that Rashford, I think anybody in the squad they'll listen to offers for, apart from a handful of players, maybe the ones we've just mentioned, possibly a couple more as well. But yeah, no suitors for Rashford. But again, it could have been that we were asking for 80 million or something, in which case nobody's going to come in and want to pay that for Rashford plus his wages that he's on as well, because that's going to be the issue with Rashford. It's all good saying, oh yeah, let's sell him, but he's on 325 grand a week. So how do you get around that one? Do you know what I mean? It's such a difficult one. Barcelona interested in signing Marcus Rashford. That came from Dean Jones. I can't see that. I saw a story the other day saying that Barcelona are struggling to get the money to register Dani Olmo for the rest of the season, because they only managed to register him for 6 months. So I don't think they've got the funds to go out and buy Rashford, but they keep doing it. They've been doing it all this time. I've been saying that for ages. Barcelona don't have the money, and then they just keep stacking up players, keep buying players, keep finding loopholes around the kind of FFP rules in Spain. So who knows? But yeah, let me know what you think about those stories in the comments. Overall, I do read in between the lines, because I think sometimes you can find the truth between the lines in the stories. I think that the club will listen to offers for anybody in the squad, barring a couple of players. We know we're desperate for funds in terms of PSR rules. We know that we want to accelerate the squad rebuild. We want to get players in that can actually fit Ruben Amorim's system or fit our style of play that we want going forward. So I don't think there's anything necessarily. There's a few unsellables, I would say, like Kobe Mainu, Ahmad. Maybe those players on the list is fairly accurate. But it goes back to the same problem. Wages. Who's going to afford the players' wages? Players are not going to willingly want to take a pay cut unless we accept a lower fee. And then maybe that club can use some of that money to do like a signing on bonus or something, a lot of that nature. But again, it's a case of kind of balancing out what's right for the club. Is it better to get the wages off than it is necessarily get the transfer fee? Although you've got players like Rashford that would represent both. So is that why maybe we would accept a lower bid for Rashford so that the other teams can actually give him a bit more money? Who knows? We'll have to wait and kind of see what happens. But again, most of the kind of stuff is going to be done in the summer. I do think there's a couple of players we would look to move on in January, though. I think Anthony's, reportedly we want to try and sell him in January if we can. Eriksen's the other one that might potentially leave in the January window, which might free up some funds. But we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, one player that kind of sprung out of nowhere as potentially Ruben Amorim's first signing, Diego Leon, brought you news yesterday, saying that actually keep an eye on the story because it's developing quite quickly. And then, lo and behold, last 24 hours, been an explosion of news regarding Diego Leon. So Diego Leon to Manchester United is really, really advanced. It's almost done. It's just about the bonuses. And then the here we go is expected soon. Jason Wilcox is taking care of the deal. That came from Fabrizio Romano. So it's looking very, very close. This deal might even be done by the time you're watching this video. Diego Leon will join Manchester United. He will remain in Paraguay until June 25 and then join United. Now, that came from the same reporter that broke the news yesterday around the signing, saying that he will join and that he's going to potentially be loaned back, and then we'll sign him in June 2025 because of his age, which is something I overlooked yesterday. He can't come in January. It's going to have to be a summer deal. But the fact that United are moving very, very quick on this one, like literally came out last night, the night before, and within 24 hours, we're effectively, it's effectively a done deal, barring the confirmation. I think they're just working on the kind of overall package, sell-on clauses, all this kind of stuff. But, it does look like a player that we're definitely, on the cusp of signing. Very excited. Now, Academy Scoop had the following to say about Diego Leon. For those who haven't watched him or seen anything about him, he said, Manchester United are pushing to sign Diego Leon. Scouts have identified him as a strong fit for Ruben Amorim's left wing-back role, as well as ticking several boxes with regards to the fit to his physical profile in accordance with a conscious internal effort to raise the squad's athletic levels. United face competition from a host of top European clubs, but are optimistic an agreement can be found. So one of the kind of traits, if you haven't seen him, he's built like a rugby league player. He's an absolute unit for somebody that's only 17 years old. Very, very fast, very athletic. It is something that we are missing in the squad. We don't have enough of those players that have a physical kind of profile. And when I say physical, you mean that kind of athletic, big, powerful kind of players. And that is something that United are looking to kind of improve on. And he would definitely tick the boxes. He reminds me a little bit of I went to, I can't remember which game it was. I think it was against Newcastle years ago. And it was the first time I saw Antonio Valencia in the flesh, if you remember him. And he looked like an absolute beast up close. I was like, Jesus, he is absolutely jacked and really, really big and stocky. And you could see it in the way he played. He just literally used to throw people off, like, his toe tactic was, I'm just going to run at you and knock you out my way. And that was really, really effective. And this guy looks a little bit like that, like he's got that kind of build. But it's going to be a summer deal, so we're going to sign him now, by all accounts. The fees anywhere between 3 to 6 million, I've heard. Up to 6 million would be including the add-ons and bonuses and stuff. But looks really promising. He's going to go back to stay in Paraguay for the rest of this season. He'll arrive, we'll sign him in June 2025, and then he'll probably go to the reserves, and we'll kind of see what he's all about from there as well. But it is exciting because it's one of the first players for years that we've signed from South America. We've signed South American players, but from actually tap into that market is really exciting. I think the last player that we actually signed from South America while they were playing in the kind of South American leagues was Chicharito. So that shows how long we've neglected that particular market, and you could have a bargain on your hands here. So yeah, really talented player coming through. So looks like one that is going to be kind of done fairly soon. And then on the player himself, when asked directly about the rumor, said every player wants to play in Europe. I can't say much more about that, so we're not really kind of confirming anything. But apparently he's been following United on Instagram and social media. He's the only club in Europe that he's following as well. So all roads are pointing towards the fact that this will get done. Massive kind of coup. Like I said, I love the aggressiveness, the fact that we've gone in and done it out of nowhere, literally 24 hours ago. Nobody'd heard of this kid. And then all of a sudden, potentially he's coming in and he looks like an absolutely outstanding talent as well. So one that's massively excited, hopefully a really good future to go along with some of the other really good talented young players that we've been signing. Kone, Chido Martin, Overy, was it the right back? Unfortunately, he got injured when he came. Missing one. Yeah, so really, really exciting to be building up the kind of young profile of play. Lenny Yoro's the other one, obviously, but he's in the first team. I was thinking more of the reserves. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, one of the kind of people that are massively leading that charge is Jason Wilcox. So Jason Wilcox has stepped into Dan Ashworth's role at Manchester United going into January transfer window. An email sent to staff on Wednesday made it clear that Wilcox will fill Ashworth's shoes for the time being and is the point of contact for the scouting department on any recruitment matters. And then Chris Fay has also said, and this was quite exciting, that Manchester United are increasingly looking at South America as a market where there are some bargains to be had. And I totally agree as well. So I love the fact that potentially, we're going to start tapping into that particular market because, it's an area that we've kind of overlooked for so long, for ages. And you look at the kind of like Casido's the obvious one that we missed out on because we didn't want to sign him. There's been countless examples where we could have got a player that we were linked with in scouting, didn't go for, that's gone on to have a very good career, or has gone on to be sold for hundreds of millions of pounds as well. So it is definitely an area that we do need to get more involved in. So but let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then keeping with the left-back situation, the Muppeteer said United's concern about Harry Amas is his physicality. So that's one of the reasons why he's not necessarily ready for the first team yet, is because of his physicality. And that the Mupty also said that likely United want 2 left backs, so they're still potentially going to be bringing in another left back, which I think is positive because I do think we need one. And he said it's very possible that Shaw and Malacia could be gone by the summer as well. So that we are in still need, in my opinion, of a first choice kind of left back or left full back, left wing back, however you kind of describe it. I do think Leon is one that potentially could come in for the future, but you know, we're always kind of chasing the future with these kind of young signings, and there's no guarantee it would work out. One of the players that we have heavily been linked with, though, is Davies, but the Telegraph was saying that the competition and cost to sign Alphonso Davies makes Manchester United an unlikely destination. So I think as the kind of the deadline kind of closes, because he can start to speak to clubs in January, because he's out of contract in the summer. By all accounts, Bayern Munich are pushing quite hard to get him on a new deal. And then obviously we do know that Real Madrid have been heavily invested and linked with him before that anyway. So I've never really rated our chances of getting Alphonso Davies. Been saying, though, I do think that it's good. We need to be in that race, though, to try to get him at least, because if you're not in the conversation, you're never going to get him. But who knows? If you're in the conversation, you might have wiggle room for, negotiations, and you never know. The player might want to come and play with De Ligt and Mazraoui. Like, you don't know these things without asking the questions. So I commend United for being in the race, but I've never felt that we were, going to be getting Davies. I've always said I think he's going to go to Real Madrid, is my opinion. But by all accounts, the latest update is that he might be staying at Bayern Munich, and I think teams like City, and there's going to be other teams involved in Davies. It's not just like a 3-horse race. Most teams, or top teams anyway, would want to have a sniff at Alphonso Davies for a free transfer if they're looking at left backs. But yeah, keep an eye on it for you. Any developments we'll bring to you. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.